Yo, what's good? What's good? What's popping? What's popping? What's popping? So, legendary yet controversial former pro football player by the name of Orenthal James Simpson, also known as O.J. Simpson, has passed away at the age of 76. According to one of his relatives, he died due to his battle with cancer. It's been alleged for a couple of years that O.J. Simpson was suffered excuse me, I'm sorry. It's been alleged that O.J. Simpson for a couple of years had prostate cancer. So that's the allegation. I don't know as a fact that he actually had prostate cancer, but whichever type of cancer that he had, his family member of his admitted that he passed away on April the 10th, and that was from a statement from a family member on Twitter. So yeah, so O.J. Simpson has passed, and it didn't shock me that a lot of racist Caucasians who wanted to see O.J. Simpson fry in prison 30 years ago, like 30 semi years ago, is actually happy at this news, or actually happy at this news. You know, for those of you who are too young to remember the controversy surrounding O.J. Simpson, let me. So I'll just give you some brief history. Around 1994, yeah, 1993 and 1994, O.J. Simpson, whose ex-wife at the time, named Nicole Brown Simpson, was stabbed to death alongside her boyfriend at the time, named Ron Goldman. They were stabbed to death in O.J. Simpson's house. And it was alleged that O.J. Simpson was behind the stabbing death of these two individuals. Therefore, O.J. Simpson was on trial for murder. And I was a kid at that time. So I remember the whole situation. It was basically the biggest news of the year. When it came to that entire O.J. Simpson trial, that was basically the single-handedly the biggest news throughout that whole year, throughout the entire 1994 and 1995, because that trial lasted for a while. Okay, I remember going home from school, wanted to watch some damn cartoons, but couldn't because all the goddamn television channels was broadcasting the O.J. Simpson trial. All right, I remember that. But the reason why, in my personal opinion, the trial was so huge in America was because it was a big racial aspect that factored into it, in which O.J. Simpson, a so-called black man, was accused of killing his ex-wife, which was a Caucasian female, right? And his ex-wife's lover at the time, um, Ron Goldman, which was another Caucasian guy. And this happened in Southern California, shortly after the whole Rodney King situation, in which a so-called black male was beaten by a group of Caucasian cops within that same area, and the Caucasian cops got away with it, as they were found not guilty on all counts for the beating of Rodney King. So now, shortly after, you have what some people may say, karma happening to to Caucasians, right? That's what some may allege, as this so-called black male accused of murdering two so-called white people, in which this black male has enough money and power to possibly get away with this crime in a court of law in corrupt Southern California, right? So that made headline news as you had as he was as OJ Simpson was represented by a genius of a lawyer in what's this law? How could I forget the name of this damn lawyer? Johnny Cochran, right? And Johnny Cochran made an even bigger skeptical within the trial. I wouldn't say bigger skeptical, but he made it he used the race card to his advantage, and that made the trial even more controversial. So it was a big racial aspect that played into the trial that caused America to pay attention to it. So now when we so to make the long story short, OJ Simpson was found not guilty. So that made even more controversy in America, as a large portion of white America who believed that OJ was guilty of the crime was upset that he was found not guilty in a court of law. So from then to now, most of white America was upset at OJ, didn't forget. So now that he passed away, now that OJ has passed away, you know, I've watched, several videos on YouTube concerning his passing, and I was paying attention to a lot of the comments within the comment section of these videos, in which you have a lot of Caucasian people happy and have a lot of smart things to say regarding the death of OJ Simpson, which didn't surprise me at all. Because once I heard the news of OJ Simpson dying, I was like, okay, I know a lot of Caucasians who was upset at him getting away with supposedly, well, actually being found not guilty when it comes to the death of his ex-wife, are going to be happy at this. They're going to be happy. And I was proved to be correct. So I was not shocked at all at a lot of the smart comments that a lot of these Caucasians made concerning OJ Simpson's death. But what makes me laugh, right? What makes me laugh is that these are the same Caucasians who will, for the most part, run the so-called black people and tell black people to forget about the past, forget about history, forget about this. Whenever so-called black people actually have a legitimate complaint when it comes to how they've been treated in this country, in America, right? You have these hypocritical Caucasians that would tell them, oh, well, slavery happened a long time ago, forget about the past. But yet, this situation have once again showed how a lot of Caucasians do not practice what they preach. You know what I'm saying? If you expect other people to somehow forget about the past, even though black people's history in America is still affected, they've still been affected from that same history today, whatever. That's for another story, right? But nonetheless, if you expect other groups of people to forget about the past, common sense would say that you should practice what you goddamn preach, you know? And someone might argue and say, well, slavery happened semi 100 years ago. Meanwhile, OJ, the situation with the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson happened 30 years, even though he was found not guilty of the crime, right? But they'll say, well, it happened 30 something years ago. You know, slavery happened hundreds of years ago. This situation with OJ and Nicole Brown Simpson happened about 30 something years ago. Well, guess what? 30 years ago is still a long time, right? you know, but I mean, the thing is that I'm not really complaining about Caucasian people, about the hypocrisy amongst Caucasians. I'm not complaining about that I've because I'm well aware about this type of hypocrisy on the hands of a lot of Caucasians. But the thing is that where that leaves us is to a lot of you coons on the internet, right? Especially in the so-called black manosphere, who always love to who always love to who always love to quote these racist yet hypocritical talking points created by Caucasians. A lot of you coons truly believe and buy into these damn hypocritical yet racist quotes made by Caucasians. When a large group of Caucasians have throughout history openly show how they don't care for your black ass, but yet you'll adopt their talking points. You know, this happens a lot when it comes to a lot of famous so-called blacks who have passed away. When it comes to a lot of famous blacks who have passed away, if there's any dirt, if there's any dirt or alleged dirt on them, you will see a large portion of Caucasians, especially on social media, will have a lot of will make a lot of snarky yet smart comments in regards to that person's death, and will bring up the alleged dirt on that dead celebrity while they were alive, right? I mean, let's go back 4 years ago when NBA legend Kobe Bryant passed away. When he passed away, several people, including black coons, right, brought up his rape allegations back in 2004, right? 16 years before, prior to his death. Yeah, it's show. Yeah, exactly. It's showing it right now. Yeah. So back to what I was talking about regarding Kobe Bryant, right? You had a good number of racist Caucasians, including a lot of so-called black coons, right? That brought up Kobe Bryant's rape allegation after his death, even though Kobe was found not guilty of all charges, right? So it was not proven in the court of law, but yet people want to, racist Caucasians, including black ass coons, choose to bring that up after he passed away in order to, in order to vilify this individual even after his death. Let's go back even further. Let's go back even a little bit further into the past, 2012, when music legend Whitney Houston passed away. I remember that. I remember it around this time in 2012. Whitney Houston passed away, allegedly due to an overdose. I think she was killed, but there's no proof behind that. That's just a theory. But according to actual articles, actual sources, she died due to an overdose, right? Due to a drug overdose, as she was found in the bathtub, I think in California, overdosed on drugs. So, what do a lot of racist Caucasians, especially on social media, had to say about that? They start talking shit about her even after her death. Talking about her drug addiction and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to further vilify this sister even after she passed away. Let's take it back even further to 2009 when the great Michael Jackson passed away. He passed away, right? Due to overdosing on some sort of medication. I forgot the exact medication he passed away from. He overdosed on, that he allegedly passed away. Even him, I believe he was murdered. But that's just a theory. There's no evidence behind that. There's no real evidence behind that. That's just a theory, right? But sources have alleged that Michael Jackson passed away due to overdosing on some sort of medication. Now, after he passed, what did a lot of Caucasians, especially on social media, said about him concerning his death? They wanted to bring up his supposed sex SA allegations. Oh, fuck it. Sexual abuse allegations against little boys, in which Michael Jackson was found not guilty of all charges, right? I mean, it was or it was never proven to these allegations that was brought forth against Michael Jackson when it comes to him allegedly sexually abusing little boys was never proven to be true. But nonetheless, after his passing, right after his passing, white America showed their true racist colors when they started accusing him of being a pedophile or child molester and started utilizing that against him to vilify him even after his death. So what you have a pattern here is white America vilifying so-called black people, especially famous so-called black people, even after their death, and trying to use a famous black person's past against them, even though there was never any real proof that these past allegations were actually true. Where, but but the thing is, this is how white America show their true colors, which once again, it does not shock me. What actually shocks me is these black ass coons, right? Who will come on the internet and actually adopt the talking points of these racist Caucasians when these Caucasians has openly shown that they don't give a fuck about your black ass. Now, when it comes to O.J. Simpson, whether you believe, yeah, Johnny Mills, yeah, I believe that. I believe that they're waiting for Bill Cosby to pass, right? And the day that happens, you're going to see the same smart comments from a lot of these racist Caucasians making these comments about O.J. Simpson. They're going to make those same comments about Bill Cosby, even though there's no real evidence proving that Bill Cosby is guilty of any of these allegations that he was accused of doing, which is why he's a free man now. Nonetheless, you're going to see the same small comments. But at the same time, you're going to see these same black coons that will follow suit and make them same small comments too about Bill Cosby. Like I said, that's what really shocked the fuck out of me. These same black coons, right, that will come on that will go online and make videos and swear up and down how supposedly racism no longer exists. That's my real problem. My real problem is not towards these Caucasians making these smart comments about black celebs who passed away. I'm not surprised by that because I just gave you a history and a timeline of several examples of this happening. Thus, me understanding that, I understand this is how they operate. But my thing is that when it comes to this, and plus so many other racist incidents happening in America, you have these black coons that will come on here, especially they'll come on the manosphere and swear up and down that there is no racism. Racism does not exist. America is no longer a racist country, right? They'll say stupid shit such as, and they'll adopt bias talking points that have been created by the same racist hypocrites that will talk shit about a black celebrity that passed away. Like such dumb talking points such as the immigrants are stealing our jobs. Like stupid shit like that, which was created by racist Caucasians disguised as conservatives to blame Hispanics for the reason why they dumbasses are unemployed. And these dumb coons, these black ass coons, don't really understand who are making the same talking points, don't really understand that they're adopting talking points from racists. These same racists who say that shit are the same racists that's making these same smart comments about OJ Simpson. For them, it's in my opinion, in my personal opinion. So that's when so in a nutshell, my thing is you have these black ass coons that will continue to make videos talking shit about how racism does not exist, even though there's plenty of proof that it does exist. This whole thing with Caucasians making smart comments about OJ Simpson's death is just a very, very small piece of a totally big puzzle when it comes to modern day American racism. Because there's there's plenty of proof that racism exists, but nonetheless, this thing is just one small example of the existence of the continued existence of racism in America. But you have these black ass coons that would still continue to make content convincing people how racism does not exist. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that, really. To me, this shit is now in your face. If you guys really think about it, when it comes to racism right now in America, for the past few years, to me, the way I look at it is that it's not as hidden as it once was, if you understand what I mean. Because for the past few decades, racism, right? I'll say between post civil rights era to about, and this is just my theory, by the way, this is just my theory. My theory is that from the post civil rights era in America to, I'll say, the late 20 teens, racism was more subtle, was a little bit more subtle, where it was more hidden, where in action you saw the racism and the racial bias actually take place. You see it by action, but it was covered in disguise by a whole bunch of lies. But ever since, I'll say, the mid to late 20 teens, when the mainstream media uncovered a lot of unarmed blacks being executed by police, and the different reactions or the different comments made by a lot of people in America actually created a situation where racism exposed their own face, if you get what I mean. I don't know. Let me put it in better terms, right? Let me put it in better terms. How basically, when it came to the reactions towards the mainstream media exposing a lot of unarmed blacks being murdered by police, racism, the mask of racism was taken off. Racism took their hoodie off, and revealed their face once again to the point that now American racism is actually a little bit more overt now than it was in times past. It's more in your face. And so thus, now that racism has been more in your face than it was in times past, it's just ironic how you have a lot of these black ass coons on the internet who still want to make these arguments about how racism in America do not exist. I mean, how could you say that? How could you say that when there's tons of evidence of it existing? I mean, do people forget about the many complaints about the many complaints from the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Committee. I think I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong when it comes to when it comes to that acronym. I'm not too good with acronyms, right? They, for those of you who don't know, the EEOC is a sector of the U.S. Department of Labor who actually exist in order to report inequality when it comes to employment, especially racial inequality, right? And the EEOC have made plenty of reports for decades, even now, when it comes to racial bias in places of employment, which is more proof of racism in America still currently existing. What up, Ronan Unsung? Okay. You say, yeah, correct. EOC. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very bad with acronyms. When I mean that I'm very bad with acronyms, I'm speaking about how each letter of an acronym stands for, what they stand for. Of course, I remember the EOC, that's just 4 letters. But when it comes to what each letter stands for in an acronym, you know, on average, I'm bad at that. I'm bad at that on average. I know EE stands for equal employment. O stands for opportunity. But C, I think it represents committee or commission or some shit. I don't know. Some shit. I don't know. But they've made plenty of racial bias when it comes to employment and hiring practices in America. But yet, racist black coons will come online and even within the black manosphere and claim how racism does not exist. Okay, right, right. You know, it's crazy. I mean, and I keep reiterating this about the past Trump administration and what they've done or what they've attempted to do when it comes to or what they've attempted to do when it comes to when it came to a lot of parents of minority children making complaints to the federal government about how different schools all across America would actually target their children due to racial bias, to the point that Obama, when he was president, set up a lot of stipulations to further protect the civil rights of minority students in America, in which when the Trump administration came into power, right? When they came into power in America, they tried to actually relinquish these stipulations that Obama put in place to protect or to further protect the civil rights of minority students who was targets of racial bias by teachers in America in the public American school system, right? So basically, here you had during the Trump administration, the federal government, or at least the Trump administration themselves, trying to remove the rights or the civil rights of black children, Hispanic children, Asian children that was being targeted, that was being racially that was being discriminated against by the education system that they attended. But we're going to sit there and say that there is no racism, right? Okay. If it wasn't for the US Supreme Court at the time, who actually stopped the Trump administration from actually removing these stipulations that Obama put in place, then a lot of these kids in America's public school system would be in a worse predicament. But racism does not exist, right? I mean, let's go to what the modern day Supreme Court have done, right? Now, mind you, this is the Supreme Court in which a couple of new faces have been put in place as a Supreme Court justices, right, over the years, in which it was agreed upon to remove affirmative action quotas when it comes to college enrollment. But we're going to say that racism does not exist. All right, cool. Yeah. That is a good example, George Gordon. Case in point, the reaction of conservatives when Ashley Babbitt, my bad if I mispronounce the last name, was shot versus when a black person gets shot by a cop. Exactly. You know, when a black person gets shot by a cop, these conservatives, right? Or I'll say racists and coons who disguise themselves as conservatives, as I call them $5 conservatives, right? Will try to make it seem as if this so-called black person who gets shot and killed by a cop was at fault for whatever reason. I mean, you still have people, even within this space, who still are going with this narrative that George Floyd died due to a drug overdose and that the cop, Derek Chauvin, did not kill him, even though the medical experts who conducted the autopsy on George Floyd have stated that Floyd passed away due to his throat being crushed, thus not getting enough oxygen to enter his body. But these niggas are still going around claiming that George Floyd died of a drug overdose. Once again, when you actually read the statements of the doctors who did the autopsy on Floyd, they'll tell you that Floyd did not die of a drug overdose, even though, yes, Floyd did have drugs in the system, but it was not enough to kill him. What killed Floyd was his throat being crushed, which prevented oxygen from entering his body. Why? Because what we saw on camera when Chauvin had what did we see on camera when George Floyd was taking his last breath? What? The cop putting his knee on Floyd's neck, which is why Derek Chauvin is in prison right now. Come on now. But when it comes to all this, when it comes to a lot of this racism, that's exposing themselves right now, these black coons will still be in denial of it and still live in this fantasy about how racism do not exist. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say, well, hey, I'm not going to go as far as what these fake pro-blacks will say and say that, hey, just because we live in a racist we still live in a racist system that so-called black people could never achieve anything in life, that so-called black people can never get by. I will disagree with any person who say that, because even though we still live in a racist society, of course it's still possible for so-called black people to actually be productive and succeed in this society, right? But nonetheless, it's still a racist society that we live in. We can't deny that. I won't be surprised, Ronan. I won't be surprised if affirmative action regarding employment is next. It won't shock me at all. And if that happens, hypothetically speaking, if that happens, what will these coons say now? Well, what will these coons say then? I mean, if that happens, what will these coons say afterwards if that happens? I just wonder what would be the defense of these coons if that happens. Yeah, under this Supreme Court. Yeah, exactly. What would be the defense of the coon force if that ever happens? We live at a time now where white America is openly showing their ugly face. And it's like these black ass coons are fighting so hard to put the mask back on white America's ugly face. And then to try to convince so-called black people on the internet that, oh, there is no racism, blah, 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 blah. It's stupid. It's stupid. But yeah, OJ Simpson's death further exposes white racist hypocrisy as you see Caucasians making so much smart comments because they're happy at the fact that OJ Simpson died, because they haven't forgotten about what happened 30 something years ago, even though OJ was found not guilty in the court of law of the crime that he was accused of committing, which is the death of his Caucasian ex-wife. Most of white America believed that OJ was guilty of killing his ex-wife, but he was found not guilty uh uh on all charges. This made white America mad 30 years ago. White America haven't forgotten about that, so they're happy when he passed away of cancer. And they had a lot of things to say. They had a lot of smart things to say. Basically, to make it simple, most of white America who haven't forgotten about what they believe OJ Simpson has done 30 years ago are upset that the nigger's dead. Yet there'll be the same types that will go to so-called black people and try to convince so-called black people to forget about the past, right? Forget about past crimes that has been done to them. Forget about uh uh even though the past crimes that has been done to so-called black people still plays a role in the lives of black people today, because black people are still affected by these crimes that happened yesteryear, right? But nonetheless, these same Caucasians who refuse to quote unquote forget about what OJ has allegedly done 30 years ago will try to convince black people to forget about the past, but yet these Caucasians have shown that they can't forget about the past, right? Oh, where he said that shit? Hold on. ABL actually said that bullshit. What was his intent in saying that, George Golden? Was his intent was to try to defend the KKK or something? He said, well, we actually had Anthony Bryan Logan saying that the Klan gave out toys to poor kids. He said that shit. But what was his intent in saying that? I'm interested in knowing that. I never knew that. I never knew he said that. I don't listen to ABL. I don't listen to that bullshit. Right, Ronan Unsung. Get over Emmett Till, get over the Central Park Five, but won't let go of OJ. Exactly. They won't let go of OJ, even though OJ was found not guilty of the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, right? But they'll tell so-called black people to forget about the past, right? And yet, these black coons will actually tell so-called black people the same thing to forget about the past. Forget about the past. But yet, when these situations happen, whenever a so-called famous or controversial black person passes away, you see white America rear their ugly head and have so much smart things to say regarding that person's death due to allegations of them committing some sort of crime in the past. White America will rear their ugly head and talk so much shit about the death of this famous black person. Yet we'll tell black people to forget about the past. And these black ass coons who's too stupid to see that shit will actually follow suit of these racist Caucasians, tell so-called black people to do the same thing, and will go as far as to say that racism no longer exists in America. A lot of them will say that stupid ass shit. When we see another example of white racism happening now regarding the death of OJ Simpson, because many so-called many Caucasians believe that OJ Simpson was actually committed the murder when it comes to the death of his Caucasian ex-wife, got pissed off that he was found acquitted in a court of law when it comes to the death of his ex-wife, but still hold it against him, even 30 something years later. And anybody with any common sense would know that if OJ Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, was a so-called black female, motherfuckers wouldn't care if OJ killed her or not. If Nicole Brown Simpson was a so-called black female, that court case that OJ Simpson, that trial that OJ Simpson went through 30 years ago, would have never been as popular as it was back then. As a matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say that if Nicole Brown was a so-called black female and OJ Simpson actually did kill her ass, if OJ Simpson, if OJ Simpson actually did kill her ass, guess what? Most of these Caucasians wouldn't care, and they'll still tell OJ Simpson rest in peace regarding to his death. You know, they'll still like, if you get what I'm saying. I know I sound a little convoluted right now. Yeah. If Nicole Brown was a so-called black female and if OJ Simpson actually did kill her, the majority of Caucasians would not have anything negative to say about OJ regarding his death. They'll actually pretend to pay their respects to him. The reason why they're so mad at OJ is because they believe that a nigga got away with killing our beautiful Caucasian female, our precious Caucasian, one of our a nigga got away with killing one of our precious Caucasian queens, even though she was a fucking crackhead. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. And if Nicole Brown was a sister, they'll probably say some shit like, well, maybe it was self-defense. Maybe it was self-defense. You know how these black nigger bitches be. You know, maybe she had a knife or something, and OJ had to grab the knife, and she grabbed another knife, and OJ had to stab her for self-defense. It was self-defense. OJ was defending himself. You know how these niggers be. You know, they're always killing each other. Oh well. For real. What up, Leonard de Yehuda? Oh, or Leonard de Yuda. What up, Shaka? Shaka, what's up? Oh, word. ABL said that shit. He said, what the fuck? He said, yo, ABL said that ABL actually stated that the Klan used to give his grandmother cookies. Nigga. Even if that was true, you mean this nigga would brag about that shit? Nigga, I wish a Klan member would try to send any of my family members some damn cookies, man. I'll throw that shit right back at they punk asses. The fuck? I don't want that shit. That shit probably poisonous some shit. You say he'd still be locked up if he wasn't dead. No, OJ's free. OJ was free. OJ died a free man. OJ was free from prison ever since when? Years ago. He said the Black Clanosphere, the Black Clanosphere. He said the Black Clanosphere would be clowning her death to this day if she was black. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Black Clanosphere would be clowning her death if she was black. Yeah. Yeah. He bragged on it. He was proud. Who bragged about it? Who bragged? Oh, are you talking about ABL? Yeah, ABL bragged on it. Damn, that's crazy. What up, Alonzo Hall? What's up? What's up? What's up, Alonzo? Oh, you talking about George Golden? What the? Oh, by accident? Oh, all right. Well, at least you apologize for it. Yeah. Yeah, because George Golden didn't do anything. He didn't do or say anything that was fucked up. All right. So George Golden, one of my moderators timed you out by accident. It wasn't on purpose. All right. Hopefully you're not upset at that you was timed out. It was an accident. So all right. Yeah. Yeah, if Nicole Brown was a so-called black female, the majority of the Black Clanosphere would make so much fucked up memes about her. Right? They will consider her to be a Keisha. They'll make up so much stories about her, talking about OJ had to defend himself against that Keisha. OJ, she probably was messing around with a Pookie and trying to get Pookie and Ray Ray to kill OJ. So OJ did what he had to do. Angry ass niggas. Oh, if Nicole was black, he'd be locked up, is what I'm saying. How'd you figure that? What made you come to that conclusion, Shaka Nulu? Because if OJ actually killed Nicole Brown, who's Caucasian, and had enough money to provide the right lawyers to get away with it, I think the same would happen if Nicole was a so-called black female. Because Johnny Cochran, boy, either way, whether OJ Simpson actually killed Nicole Brown or not, the fact of the matter is this: Johnny Cochran saved OJ's ass. Don't get me wrong. The team of lawyers, the so-called dream team that OJ spent a fortune on, saved his ass. But the main lawyer, the main attorney who saved OJ's ass was Johnny Cochran. Johnny Cochran saved OJ's ass. I think if it wasn't for a lawyer like Johnny Cochran, OJ would have been in prison regardless of the racial background of Nicole Brown. So that's why I'm saying, even if Nicole Brown was a so-called black female, the fact that OJ had Johnny Cochran defending him, right, leads me to the conclusion that OJ wouldn't have gone to jail either way. Nicole Brown Simpson could have been Asian. She could have been East Indian. She could have been Arab. She could have been a Pacific Islander, Native American, Puerto Rican, whatever. OJ had an excellent, a genius lawyer in Johnny Cochran who saved his black ass from going to jail. All right. Johnny Cochran was so good when he used the race card against Mark Furman, who I think Mark Furman was at the time was the main investigator who was investigating the OJ trial, the OJ or the alleged OJ murder, right? He was the main. Mark Furman was the main investigator that was investigating the whole murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. And when Ron Goldman exposed how racist Mark Furman is, right? And also the whole glove debacle, right? When he made OJ, because the alleged glove that was used by whoever murdered Nicole Brown, supposedly, right? Johnny Cochran made OJ Simpson put on the glove in the court of law on front of cameras, and the glove did not fit OJ. And the famous quote made by Johnny Cochran saying, "The glove don't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." Oh boy. Oh boy. Johnny Cochran won favor of the of the jury. A genius like him. Johnny Cochran was so good when it came to optics. Because if anybody know, when it comes to a court of law, optics is very important. Your proof is very important too, but optics is very important in the court of law, where you have to create a good argument to make your client look as innocent as possible. And Johnny Cochran, as an attorney, is genius in doing that. And he was able to make OJ Simpson look so innocent in the eyes of the jury, to the fact that he was a victim of Mark Furman's racism. And that single-handedly made OJ Simpson a free man. Yeah. They vilified and celebrated when Cochran died for saving OJ's ass. That's what it is. That's what it was. And I believe Johnny Cochran was killed. Yo, listen. Isn't it a coincidence that a large portion of OJ's dream team end up getting killed at like in their 40s and 50s and some shit? How old was Johnny Cochran when he died? Was he like in his 50s and 60s or something like that? I think allegedly, well, according to the media, he passed away due to a brain aneurysm or something like that. I think he passed away due to a brain aneurysm. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I remember when Johnny Cochran died. That was like maybe 2004, 2005, somewhere in the mid 2000s. I think he passed away due to a brain aneurysm. If I'm Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but according to media sources, he passed away due to some sort of illness. But I believe he got killed. I believe he got his ass murdered. That's my theory on it. Once again, it's just a theory. There's no evidence behind that theory. But who and who Kim Kardashian's father, who was one of the lawyers for OJ, Robert Kardashian, he passed away. He ended up passing away, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he was still kind of young. He was like what, in his 40s and 50s at the time? Oh, 67. Okay. Yeah, 2005, he died at 67. Okay. Robert Kardashian. How old was Robert Kardashian when he died? He was one of the attorney for OJ Simpson, right? He ended up dying not too long after the trial was over. Around like what? The early 2000s, late 90s, around that time. And some other attorneys. Oh, a brain tumor, right? Oh, okay. They said that he died of okay, so all right. I knew it was something concerning the brain. Okay, so according to media sources, Johnny Cochran died of a brain tumor in 2005 and he was 67 years old. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Right? My theory is that's all bullshit. That's just my theory. I believe his ass was killed. Oh, Robert Kardashian was 59 when he died. Okay, that's still a little too young to die. Robert Kardashian was 59 when he died. Okay, I believe they was killed. They was executed. Because that was, remember, that OJ Simpson trial was probably single-handedly the biggest trial of the 1990s. And the majority of America was disappointed when OJ was found not guilty of the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. You know, mainstream America was so upset that a nigga got away with allegedly killing two Caucasians. And it was that dream team, a group of attorneys that OJ hired, especially Johnny Cochran, who made it possible for OJ Simpson to be acquitted. And remember, too, Johnny Cochran also spent a lot of his time saving a lot of other innocent black males, right? That was accused of whichever crimes. So someone had to kill his ass. I believe his ass was murdered. So that dream team that dream team group of attorneys that OJ Simpson hired was responsible for saving OJ's ass and making it possible that he was found acquitted of all charges. Thus, I believe that America had it out for that dream team of a lawyer. I think the only attorney within that dream team is still alive is what's that dude? That little Italian motherfucker, man. Exactly, Shaka Nulu. It's believable since a black man beat the system. Because some people have this thinking that a so-called black man should not beat. That is if OJ Simpson is actually guilty of killing Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. Then this statement would be legit that they was mad because a black man beat the system. Or Caucasians believe that a so-called black man beat the justice system because in the eyes of some of these racists, is that if you're a so-called black person, you shouldn't beat the justice system. Your black ass shouldn't beat the justice system. They can, but you should, but you can't. They can, but you can't. But that's my theory when it comes to the death of Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian, and a large portion of OJ's dream team and how they passed away. I believe that they was executed, boy. Yeah, that is a true statement. Whether OJ Simpson did it or not, whether he actually murdered Nicole Brown or not, he beat their system. Yeah, that is true. Because in that predicament, the average so-called black male in that predicament, who's accused of killing two Caucasians, and who most of America wants to go to jail, shouldn't have won that trial. Yeah. So I agree with you, Shock, on that one. Either way, OJ Simpson did beat their system, and that upset a lot of Caucasians. Even now, which is why they're talking so much shit concerning his death. They're still upset at the fact that they believe that OJ Simpson's black ass killed one of their precious Caucasian women, and he had the gall to beat their system and get away with killing her in the court of law. So to answer your question, DA asked me, do I believe OJ Simpson actually murdered Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman? I'll say this. I don't know and I don't care. I don't know and I don't care. That's my answer. I don't know if he killed her or not, and I don't care. That is true. OJ Simpson did live longer beyond the average life expectancy of the average black male. Because the average life expectancy of black males is like what? Around the late 50s, early 60s, around that. I remember I did a video about that, but yeah, around that age. But OJ lived until he was 76 years old. So he lived a long life. So for those racist Caucasians and coons in the comment sections of different videos who has something smart to say about the death of OJ Simpson, my question to them is, hey, what make you think you are actually going to make it to live that long? You might not make it to live as long as OJ did, but you're talking shit about him. I mean, shit. Oh yeah. I remember that. Mississippi Burning said outside influences beat it. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They were so mad at Cochran that every time they do a movie or a TV show with the black male attorney, they try to make him a parody of Cochran. Yeah. That's why I believe Cochran was murdered, man. I don't believe that stuff about him dying of a brain tumor or whichever illness that the media claim he died from. I think his ass got murdered. That's my theory on that. Once again, Do I have the proof behind to prove that this theory is true? No, that's why it's a theory. I don't have any proof behind it. Well, that's all I have to say concerning this matter, you know. But don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if another famous yet controversial black figure passes away and a large portion of white America rear their ugly head again and make these smart comments underneath the comment section of a lot of videos concerning that person's death, because they have a pattern of doing that. But yet these black coons will still try to convince you that racism no longer exists. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that is true, DA. Yeah, that is true. It's also the belief that every murderer will get caught and jailed. There is so many unsolved murders and murderers who walked away because of lack of evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, that is true. That is true, and that's unfortunate. That is true. That's very true. I can't argue that. Yeah. But yo, I got to go. All right. So thank you for watching. See y'all later. I'm out of here. Peace.